Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are again having a lecture on some basic concepts of linguistics. I hope you would have understood what linguistics is and what are the major subject matter that it deals with, and what are the different processes that we adopt for linguistic analysis. Today, I have a look at some theoretical concepts in linguistics. Let's have a look at the first one. Is the first theoretical concept that we are going to talk about today is the synchronic versus diachronic linguistics. As the terms are very self-explanatory, you just go to the dictionary and find the literal or verbal meaning of the words synchronic or diachronic. You would be quite clear what these two terms stand for. As far as linguistics is concerned, these two terms stand for the temporal variety or time related variety or linguistic analysis or analysis of language, the analysis that has some relation with the time. As far as synchronic is concerned, it is related to the one specific time or one specific period. For example, when I say that I'm going to study something about the language in a synchronic way, that would mean I'm going to study something about the linguistic behavior that is happening right now at this time, or I am studying the language behavior that was being displayed at some other time, at one specific time period. For example, in the start of the 19th century or at the end of the 19th century. So it is the synchronic linguistic study. Or if we come to the diachronic linguistic analysis, we may say that it can also be termed as historical analysis of language or analysis of language that cuts across the specific boundaries of time, and it is related to different periods of evolution of language over the years, over the longer history of time. Let's have few examples. For example, I'm going to study the linguistic behavior of the BS first semester students of 2020 batch. Uh, then I would be having a linguistic analysis that would be called synchronic linguistic analysis. And if I would be going to compare the linguistic production of the BS first semester student of session 2020 with the linguistic performance of the BS first semester students of 2016 batch, then I would be having a diachronic analysis in linguistics. So diachronic is an evolutionary analysis. On the other hand, synchronic analysis is restricted to one specific time period. Let's have a look at the formal definition. Synchronic linguistics is one of the two main temporal mean here time related dimensions of language study introduced by Saussure. Yes, who is Saussure? He is Ferdinand Saussure, a French linguist, and he gave the categories of synchronic and diachronic linguistics in his course in general linguistics in 1916. The other is diachronic linguistics, which is the study of language through periods of time in history. The first looks at snapshot of a language. First here means synchronic linguistics looks at the snapshot of language, and the other studies its evolution or its progression over the longer time period. Students, synchronic linguistics is the study of a language at a particular time. In contrast, diachronic linguistics studies the development of language over time. Synchronic linguistics is often descriptive, analyzing how the parts of a language or grammar work together, or work today or at any other specific time period. A synchronic study of language is a comparison of languages or dialects, various spoken differences of the same language used within some defined spatial region and during the same period of time. On the other hand, diachronic linguistics, which is the study of language through periods of time in history, the first looks at a snapshot of language and the other studies is its evolution, like a frame of film versus a movie. Here, the frame of film stands for synchronic linguistics and movie stands for diachronic linguistics. For example, analyzing the word order in a sentence in Old English only would be a study in synchronic linguistics, because we would be focusing here on the word structure of English at one specific time period, that is the Old English period. And if we are having another sort of analysis at how word order word structure changed in a sentence from Old English to Middle English period and now to the Modern English period, then we would be working in the sphere of diachronic linguistics. Okay, students, the next concept or idea about linguistics that we are going to discuss today is pragmatic and syntagmatic relationships in linguistics. Students, here I have shared a link with you. You just copy the link and paste it in Google. You would get an informative material about paradigmatic and syntagmatic relationships. Anyhow, I'm going to discuss it over here, but the link that I have shared would be helpful in your better understanding. Okay, let's have a look. The syntagmatic relations concern positioning and relate entities that co-occur in text. Okay, and they are the relations in a that are linear one and applies to linguistic and entities that occur in sequential combination. One example is words that occur in sequence as in normal sentence, like I'm hungry. Syntagmatic relations are combinational relations, which means that words that enter into such relations can be combined with each other. For example, written words are syntagms of letters, sentences are syntagms of words, and paragraphs are syntagms of sentences. So here a proper sequence, I am hungry, makes a meaningful suggestion, and if we disorder this combination, then that meaningful combination would lose its appropriacy or meaning, at least for some period of time, unless it would be converted into the original order. Similarly, here the last word is hungry. If we derange the graphical symbols or the letters in hungry, then the whole dimension of the word hungry would be lost if just we would change the linear order of the letters. So here language has linear relationship with all the components, and this relationship is not only at the word level but also at the sentence level and also at the paragraph level and even at the discourse level. Whenever we change the order or linearity, then we would have a change in the meaning or shift in the meaning, or we may lose even the meaning. Anyhow, such combinations are always available where we can replace the graphical symbols, or what we may say letters or words or paragraphs, with one another. The next linguistic concept that we are going to discuss is the paradigmatic relation. Paradigmatic relations, on the other hand, concern substitution. and relates entities that do not occur in the text. It is relation absentia. Yes, the first relation that we have read is the relation in presentia, because that was related with the combination of the features that are present within the text. But here the relation is between the features of language that are absent in the context. Paradigmatic relations hold between linguistic entities that occur in the same context but not at the same time, like the words hungry and thirsty in sentence. I am hungry, thirsty. Paradigmatic relations are substitutional relations, which means that linguistic entities have a paradigmatic relations when the choice of one excludes the choice of other. For example, we may say I am hungry, and if we want to substitute the adjective hungry with thirsty, we have to exclude the first one, hungry, and then we can replace it with thirsty. Similarly, if we want to substitute the first element, that is I am hungry, to something, some other pronoun, we are hungry, what we have done here is we haven't changed the grammatical category or the word class or the part of speech, that is the same. We again a pronoun category, and or again our helping verb category, and thirsty instead of hungry. So the structure of the first sentence was pronoun plus helping verb or auxiliary plus some statement or the complement, and the structure of the second sentence was same. So we can say here are systematic relations among the linguistic units. They can replace one another without changing that system of language. The meaning may be changed, but the systematic relationship between the word would not be changed by the substitution. So we may say that here pragmatic stands for a paradigm or a set of such substitutable entities. The next concept that we are going to discuss today is Langue, and it is most of the time given in a paired form, Langue and parole. Again, the two terms are French. Langue stands for language, and parole stands for performance. Performance of what? Performance of language. Student, these two concepts are again given by the same structuralist, Saussure. Saussure gave the concept of Langue and parole, and actually he has tried to differentiate between two related entities that make the whole of language. The first one is the Langue. Langue here for Saussure, Langue stands for what we may say the rules of language, the whole set of rules that include the grammatical rules, the rules of morphology, the rules of semantic structure, the rule of phonology, and that is called, that whole set of rules is called लैंग. अब जब भी जहाँ कहीं भी लैंग्वेज की परफॉर्मेंस होती है ना, उसके पीछे वो रूल्स होते हैं, एंड वी फॉलो द रूल्स इवन इफ वी डोंट नो दैम. वेन एवर वी स्पीक पंजाबी इन आर नेटिव सेटिंग्स और वी स्पीक उर्दू, we don't know what is the rule for making passives in Urdu or making active sentences in Urdu. Still we use this active and passive both type of sentences in Urdu language. So we may say that Langue is the property of the whole set of the community, the whole members of the community, or it is the whole accumulative asset of language. Language rules, we may say, or language conventions that is shared by the members of the or the community members in which some language is being spoken. Langue is the whole system of language that precedes and makes speech possible. A sign is a basic unit of Langue. Learning a language, we mastered the system of grammar, spelling, syntax, and punctuation. These are all elements of Lang. Lang is a system in that it has a larger number of elements whereby meaning is created in the arrangement of its elements and the consequent relationship between these arranged elements. So students, it is the Lang. Lang is what? Lang is this, we may say that Lang is the abstract rules on which the foundation of some languages based. These rules enable us to perform some language act or speech act successfully. On the other hand, the second term that is given again by Saussure is parole. Parole is the actual performance of language, what we perform by means of language. For example, you know English rules of grammar, you know English rules of morphology, and you are asked to write an essay. What the rules were in your mind, that was your Lang, and what you have presented in your essay or in your paper, that is your parole or performance of language. It is not here we should keep it in mind that it is not at all necessary that our parole should be equal to Lang. Most of the time we even don't know the rules, and we perform speech acts or language acts quite successfully. As I have just given example from Urdu and Punjabi, we don't know the rules of the language, but we perform language successfully in real life situations. But at times it may be the case that we might have clarity at the level of rules or the abstract system of language, but we are actually not performing according to the or up to the level of the rules. Our performance level is low, as it happens in the case of second language learners, or as it is the case with all of us, you and me, when we perform speech acts in English language. Most of the times we are quite clear about the grammatical rules, tense formation, rules about the use of pronouns. But when we perform or the language, we do not adhere to those rules, or we do not follow those rules most of the times. So our parole cannot be equated to the Lang or to the capacity of Lang. It may be deficient, or it may even exceed the level of the rules. जैसे all of you know what is the present indefinite tense, ठीक है, and where you would have to add s and es with your verb forms in present indefinite tense. So at the level of Lang you are quite clear, but at the level of parole, when you are asked to write some sentence in present indefinite tense, you sometimes miss s or es with the verb, adding s or es with the verb. So in your performance you are missing what you have actually grasped in the form of Lang. So Lang, the level of Lang was higher than the level of performance in this case of example. So in formal terms, we may say that parole is the concrete use of language, the actual utterances. It is an external manifestation of language. It is the usage of system, but not the system itself. Yes, it is very important. It is not the system. The system was parole, and it is the use of system that is called. The system was Lang, and the use of system is called parole. By defining Lang parole, Saussure differentiates between language and how it is used, and therefore enabling these two very different things to be studied at as separate entities. As a structuralist, Saussure was interested more in Lang than parole. It was the system by which meaning could be created that was of interest rather than individual instances of its use. Since Saussure belonged to the structuralist group, so the more interesting thing for him was the language form, or the language structure. So he was more interested in the Lang, or the rules, or the abstract system of the structure, abstract system of the language structure rather than the individual performance. So we can say Lang, the rules of sign system, which might be grammar, and parole, the articulation of signs, for example, speech or writing. And the sum of language or the whole of language is made up of both Lang and parole. While Lang could be the rule of, say, English grammar, it does not mean parole always has to conform to the rules of standard English, what some people erroneously call proper. ये मैंने आपको भी एग्जांपल दे दी कि even if you may have grasp over the Lang, still it need not necessarily mm, be that your performance is equal to that Lang capability, as it is here an example has been given about the standard English, that you know the rules for the standard English, but your parole cannot be appropriate to those rules. Lang is less rigid than the phrase set of rules, implies it is more a guideline and is inferred from the parole. Yes, sometimes parole even has the capacity to change the Lang or the abstract system. We have seen in word formation and early in our first lecture about the properties of language, how the meanings are change with the passage of time, or word change their forms with the passage of time. So we it's the performance of the people or the parole that has capacity to change the Lang. Lang क्या है? Lang तो convention है ना, that is set by the people, and whenever people reset the convention of associating meaning with the words, or giving a form certain meaning, whenever people or a society or a community make such sort of shift in rules, then we may say the parole has affected the Lang. Language is often linked to an iceberg, and the parole is visible, but the rules, the supporting structure, are hidden. Okay, students, it's over for today's work. You are again to make notes on all of these conceptual aspects, and another important thing is that you have to give examples for each of these conceptual categories. First, your own examples would make your understanding clear, and secondly, they would be helpful in attempting the paper. Okay, students, it's over.